everyone. My name is Shuishuo, and I feel great honor to have this opportunity to make my presentation. And today, my topic is English language teaching historical overview. Okay, now let's get started. Um, there will be two sections in my presentation. The first one is the status of English language, and the second one is the English language teaching development. Okay. So now English is considered to be the global language or the lingua franca by majority of many people. So the question is how or why? How is English acquire the global status? Is it because the number of speakers? Well, let's look at this table. And in this table, we can see that Mandarin Chinese hold the first rank in terms of the most first language speakers, for example, the 900 millions. In addition to this, Mandarin Chinese also has 190 millions second language speakers, which make a total of 1,090 millions. And the Spanish is the second in the list in the terms of first language speakers, and English is on the third rank. Okay, so but when the second language speaker of English is considered, English overtakes the Mandarin Chinese and the Spanish. So the data shows that mother tongue use by itself cannot give a language a global status. That is to say, the number of first language speakers does not determine the status of any language at the global level. So, what makes a global language a global language? Well, in my opinion, there are three important factors, and the first one is the strong power base. Okay, the colonialism or the imperialism is not the only reason, but the most strongest and important reason. The politicals and practice of colonizers in different colonies provided strong foundation for the development of English language in many parts of the world. But a language's dominance as a global language does not only depends on the military power, because in the history there are so many language they mm, they overcome some areas in the world, but they didn't become the global language. So there are some more power base, for example, not only the military but also the political and economic power. They are also the very important aspect. Okay. And then the second factor is the qualities of English. For example, the flexibility and the openness of English. Okay. And English adapted itself to the given situations, and wherever it is spread, it allows itself to modify it according to the local linguistic requirements, and yet it borrowed the influences from Arabic, Chinese, Persian, Haitian, and many other languages for the and many other languages of other countries. And for example, the English word 饺子 or kung fu and typhoon, something like this. These are the proof. So this phenomenon reflects upon being open and flexible to the other language. Okay, and this is the second factor, the qualities of English, and the establishment and the expansion of English language was further supported by different activities which were happening in the social, political, and economic forums in the world, and with the advent of globalization, political relations among countries have played a key role, and so does the trade and other business activities. Uh, and the acceptance and expansion of English is also supported by the international forums like the United Nations and the World Health Organization, and the need for English as a global language is also supported by the academic and communities, and the growing trend of international travelings, especially the air travel, has also supported the expansion of English. And the internet has also made this world a global village, and the need of content on the internet is a single language, mm, which can be understood by everyone, has made English the true official language of this global language. So these are the main factors for the English to become the global language. Mm, the the strong power base, the qualities itself, and the globalization. And just like the Crystal said, that English was in the right place at the right time. Well, the spread of English language took many turns, and now English is no longer viewed as the property of the English speaking world or English speaking country. Okay, actually, this is a copy from our doctor's note, and since we have discussed this topic in the first week's lecture, so I'm going to skip this part. Okay, and now it comes to the second section, English language teaching. Okay, now let's look at this framework of ELT over here. As we can see that the approach, the theory of language description, and the theory of language learning are the three most important elements which guides all practices of ELT. Okay, and the first one, approach, focus on the intentions and outcomes and decide the purpose of language teaching. The theory of language description provides a linguistic base for syllabus design, material production, assessment models and techniques, and so on. And the theory of language learning is based on research in the field of psychology, and um, it directs the classroom practice, such as the teaching method, the strategies, the assessment techniques. Okay, so to put in simple words, it can be said that the theory of language description helps in deciding what to teach, and the theory of language learning helps with the how to teach, and the approach helps with the why to teach, or the purpose, the objectives of language teaching. Okay, so here are the uh, some most important theories of language description and language learning, and there are three main language views, which are the structural language view, functional language view, and the interactional language view. Okay, let's start from the structural language view. Okay, in this view, language is a system of structure related elements for the transmission of meaning, and this is the most traditional language view. Okay, and functional the functional view, language is a vehicle for expression of functional meaning and a meaning of doing things. And for example, if you hold the structural view, the structural language view, if you want to teach a sentence like it's really hot, maybe you will focus on the be verb. For example, we should use it is, not am, not is it are. Okay, we're gonna use it is, and we are going to use really, not real, not some other words, and we are going to use hot, not hotter, not some other words. Okay, just it is really hot. Okay, so you focus on the grammar rules and the structure of a sentence. Okay, but if you have the functional view, you will pay attention to the function of this sentence. For example, if you are talking about the weather with your partner, you said it's really hot. Maybe you're just describing the weather, but if you are talking with your husband, for example, you said, it's really hot. Okay, and this sentence is really hot, not just describe the weather. Maybe you want your partner to open the window or turn on the air condition. Yes, so this is the function of the language. And the last one is the interactional view. So language is a communicative tool whose main use is to build up and maintain relations between people. Okay, so when we talk about the functional view, it may focus on the structure. Okay, when we talk about the structural language view, it focuses on the structure, right? And when we talk about the functional language view, it focuses on the language function, and the interaction language view, we focus on the interaction. Okay, so for example, for the interaction view, it says people will use different words, different sentences, or different structures to different people or different situation. For example, a college student does not use the same vocabulary and structure when she interacts with her friend in a playground and her professor in schools. So she uses different vocabulary and structure to interact with different type of people and in different contexts. So this is the interactional part of a language. Okay, and then it comes to the theories of language learning, and I think we have talked about this before. Mm, so I'm going to introduce this part briefly. So the behaviorism, it says new behavior or changes in behaviors can acquired through associations between stimuli and response. Okay, and the cognitivism, learning occurs through internal processing of information. And the constructivism, we construct our knowledge of the world based on our individual experience. Okay, so according to these three theories, here are the examples and applications of the learning theories. For example, the behaviorism, we do so many drill and the rote works and the repetitive practice and so on. And for the cognitive learning, okay, we classifying or chunking information, we providing structure, we use the real world examples, we use discussions, and we use the problem solving and so on. And the last one, the constructivism, we're gonna use the case studies, and we're gonna do so many research projects, and we gonna use some brainstorm and so on. Okay, let's look at this one. So according to all of these theories, and the history of English language teaching can be divided into four periods. And the first one is the traditional era, from the very beginning to the advent of direct method. Okay, so when we talk about the direct method, I will introduce this method later. Okay, and then the modern era from the direct method to the CLT, communicative language teaching. Okay, and then it went to the transitional period, and after that, it comes to the postmodern era, and I think our PMC5 or one class will focus on the past modern era, and we are going to learn the approaches, theories, and teaching methods in this period. And now I'm going to introduce three these three periods. So the first one, let's look at the English language teaching in traditional era, the framework. Okay, as we can see that the approach and the theory of language description and theory of language learning are unidentified. Okay, so the language teachers during the traditional era were completely unaware of theories and different approaches. So people often taught language based on personal ideas, and rote learning was the common norm. Okay, and then let's look at the framework in modern era. Okay, and compared with the traditional era, we have the theory and we have the approach. Okay, let's let's look at the approach. Okay, the teaching purpose is the linguistic competence. Okay, from this point of view, we can see that the ELT in modern era is quite similar to the traditional era, because both of this period they all focus on the linguistic competence development, and they focus on the structure, the grammar rules, the vocabulary, and the formation. Okay, and the theory of language description is structuralism, and the theory of language learning is behaviorism. Okay, and then I'm going to clean the screen. Okay, it went to the transitional period. Okay, the approach changed from the linguistic to the communicative, which means the teaching purpose in the transitional period is to develop the learner's communicative competence, not the linguistic competence. And the theory of language description is the functionalism, and the theory of language learning is the cognitivism. Okay, so based on these approaches and theories, there are many teaching methods in the history, and there are still uh, exist in today's ELT. Okay, so let's start from the grammar translation method. Okay, so for the grammar translation method is the first ELT method, I think. Okay, and so they think language is the writing and reading and writing. Okay, so the learners learn language by memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary. They practice by translating sentences from the first language to second language and then back again. So, and the grammatical structure of the second language and the list of vocabularies in the syllabus, and they translate the lecture material. But this is really difficult for the beginners. Okay, so as we can see that this grammar translation method just focus on the writing and the reading things and the translate things. They ignore the listening and the speaking. Okay, so the second, the direct method, came out. Okay, and the direct method focus on the spoken language, and compared with the translation method, they use the literature material to practice, and the direct method use the everyday language. It will be easier for the beginners to use. And why it called the direct method is this is compared with the translation method. For example, this is an apple. I'm a bad drawer. Okay, this is an apple. Okay, for the translation method, okay, maybe it will use the first language, the mother tongue. We're gonna, for example, in Chinese, it's called 苹果. Okay, and then we translate it to the English word apple like this, and then backwards apple 苹果. Okay, but the direct method is connect this object directly with the English word apple. Okay, so this is the direct method. Okay, and the next one is the audiolingual method, which we are very familiar with, and they also focus on the spoken language, the listening and speaking. Okay, and but the audiolingual method insists that only the second language should be used in the classroom. Okay, but the errors were not tolerated. Okay, and then it comes to the CLT, and we have talked about CLT a lot in these days, so I'm going to skip this part. Okay, so from all of this teaching method, we can find the trend of English language teaching. The class is from the teacher centered to the learner centered, and the passive students accept the language passively, from passively to actively investigate. Okay, and it used to focus on the form, and now we focus on the communication. Okay, and the activities in the class is shifted from the mechanical activities to flexible activities, and the learning take place only in the classroom in the past, but now it take place both inside and outside the classroom. And in the past, the textbook and the teacher are the main resource, but now we have so many resources, and we have the multimedia, and now the attitude to error is quite different. It's okay to make some mistakes, and in the past they focus on the accuracy, but now the fluency and accuracy are both important. Okay, so that's all about the history of English language teaching, and here is the 3 questions I'd like to invite you to think with me together. Okay, the first one is, why has English become a global language? Okay, and the second one, why do we need to review the history of ELT? Okay, and the last one, what inspiration did you take from the history of English language teaching? Okay, so that's all of my presentation. Thanks for your listening.